pull up a PowerPoint here really quick. Can you, before I start with that, actually, what I would just like to get to know you guys a teeny bit better really quick, and just have you do some self-reflection. What is one area of your health or an area of health in your family where you would like to see improvement? And it can be anything. It can be a medical issue or a certain health issue, or it can just be with your general self-image or the relationship you have with your body. You know, I would love to see in that chat section, just so I know where you're coming from and what your interests are. We have people that want to know about anything. I had someone ask me today, why do tumors grow on parathyroids? So obviously that's a question I'm passing on to the doctors in the program. I won't be answering that myself, but it's still good to hear that because we have questions like that. And then we also have questions like, how do I sprout from home? You know, what should I do in my kitchen? So it's fun to see the diversity of things. So I will go ahead and pull up the, I just have a couple slides that I want to start off with before I get into taking you guys in a behind the scenes program tour. So just to start off, I want to introduce myself. So my name is Amy Sprouse, and I got my undergraduate degree in epidemiology. So I know that's a really long word, and I misspelled it for like half the time I was going to school. But we use statistics to study the cause and spread of diseases and health behaviors. And so that's why I included a little picture of around the world up there, because I just love studying health trends, and I love seeing what works in some countries and what works in other countries and what doesn't work. It's all interesting to me. I have some pictures on here. I really love martial arts. I really love CrossFit. And lately I've gotten really into trail running. So I should actually just put a picture of a mountain up, because I've kind of let go of a lot of weight training and things like that. Don't you guys just love nature? I swear it solves like half your life problems all at once. And then I actually just got accepted to Johns Hopkins for graduate school. And so that's why I put a picture of them up there. Johns Hopkins has been my dream school for years and years, and I'm so excited to go study there. They are the #1 school of public health in the world, and so I'm just so excited to go. Awesome, thanks, Gail. So good to hear that from you. We love seeing you on here too. So I wanted to give some background into the current healthcare system and the current challenges we're facing as a country and as a world, because this is one reason why we care so much about holistic health and why we believe that holistic health education should be accessible to everyone and should be a very common thing in our conversation with our healthcare practitioners and with our practicing physicians, as well with our kids and with our family members and with our neighbors. So if you look on this chart here, you'll notice this big green dot up towards the top called the United States. And we tend to spend a lot on healthcare compared to other countries. Not only do we spend a lot more than most countries, but we spend more per person, and we're often less efficient at solving health problems than some of these other places. Granted, we do have some very advanced medical treatment plans and equipment, and I'm not doubting that at all. I think the advancements made in the medical field are a miracle. But I'm just showing you that if you're comparing this to the rest of the world, like an average family of 4 is spending a lot more on their healthcare than other countries are. So if we look at this next slide, this is a really cool household spending calculator. It's a tool you guys can use online if you want to look it up. But if you just go with the average family of 4, average income of combined both parents working, average health status, they're spending about $18,750 out of that's coming out of their paychecks and out of their pockets, and that's not even including what their employer is paying on top of that. So some stats say the average family of 4, the cost of their healthcare is as high as $28,000 a year. If you're looking at a family without quite that high of income, let's say we base it at $50,000 for the income, you're still looking at $7,400. That's about 15% of income being spent on healthcare bills and healthcare insurance premiums and things like that. Of course, it's an important necessity to have good healthcare, but I would argue there's never been a time financially where it can save so much money to know how we can prevent expensive health conditions from developing in our bodies, and also know what we can do from home to help treat some of these things and help alleviate some of these symptoms, and to just look at the human body as a whole. So I just want to throw that out there, because it's sometimes people are so nervous to invest in their health and spend money on holistic healthcare, and they'll be like, I know I need a chiropractic appointment, but is it covered by my insurance? And like, I know I need a massage, but is it covered by insurance? And I know I should eat raspberries and fresh fruits, but it's just so expensive. And like, at the end of the day, you will either pay for good health now or pay for bad health later. Like, you will pay for one. So you can choose if you want to invest more of that money and try to invest it in the attaining good health part, or just pay more for the health conditions that will inevitably develop if we continue living like our current culture was, in terms of having like a very toxic food culture and things like that, and then have to pay for health conditions later. I hope I'm not being too brash. Sometimes I'm like very non-sensitive, and I really mean no offense, because I would just hug and squeeze every one of you if you were here in person. But I just like telling that, because I don't want you feeling guilty for investing in your health. I would argue that's the highest return on investment you could ever make in your life is investing in your own health, because you know how much surgeries can cost. Like, those can be anywhere from like $15,000 to $250,000. You know what it's like to lay in bed sick and not feel like you can play and have energy. And none of those, we don't want any of those things. And so I'll just turn over here to the chat section really quick. But awesome, talking about weight loss and also asthma. Yeah, the asthma section in the Human Body Master Guide section is awesome, Lisa. Great question. So I can't wait to show you inside the program. So just tell me if I'm making sense or not with wanting to give some background into why we care so much about holistic health, and so many people are turning to holistic health because they want to know what they can do. The cool part is that thanks to modern technology, we are able to get connected with, experts who can teach us things about the body that we could have never learned on our own. I mean, think about when we originally wanted to make the Human Body Master Guide. It was actually going to be a book, and it was called the A to Z Guide. And it was a guidebook where you could go in and look up a certain health ailment, and you could see what all these different types of health professionals would recommend for it. Because let's be honest, there's a time and a place where you really want to know your integrative medicine doctor's opinion, or your medical doctor's opinion. And then there's other times where you want to know what a nutritional expert would say. And then you want to know, what would your essential oil friends say? And what would your master herbalist friends say? And what would your yoga practitioner say? And what would your counselor say? And there's all these different types of health professionals. And what if you could find all their recommendations in one place? Like, that would be awesome, right? My little sister Lily's been sick for a while with a chronic condition that we've taken her to no less than 25 doctors and specialists, and no one can give us answers except for one we recently found. And that's another reason my mom was motivated to put this program together, Karen Urbanic, because the years and the sleepless nights and the expenses of trying to figure out your kid's health condition without knowing where to turn, it just adds up. It's exhausting, it's expensive. And so she wanted to create a tool that parents could use so that you didn't have to go through all that effort just to get some ideas and to know what your options are. So it would originally start off as a book where you look up asthma, for example, and you would see, okay, cool, here's what the foods that people recommend are associated with asthma. I don't know if there's foods associated, but we can find out in the guidebook. They'd look, okay, here are the alternative treatment plans that are often used for people with asthma. Is it hot cold therapy? Can you do chiropractic care? Are there certain types of energy medicines that help with asthma? So it would go over what type of therapies work, what essential oils are good, what homeopathy is good, what herbs are good, things like that, and put it all in one place. So that's where we were at. We spent about 10 years developing it, paying tens of thousands of dollars in research for people to be researching this stuff, put it all together in a book. And then last year, we were like, what the heck? Why don't we make it an online video library where we can just interview all of the professionals from around the world that we've met in our practice of, we've had 2 different holistic healthcare clinics, one in Wisconsin, one in Utah, and we've just made tons of connections with phenomenal professionals around the world. Like, what if we could just interview them, and then people can hear from the professionals themselves? So now we have a video library. You can watch the interviews, you can read the information, and then you also get live videos where you can ask your questions. It's a question and answer session. And those are every week as well. And we have guest doctors that come on. We had Dr. Andrew on today. He's sometimes medical doctors will be like, I'm not really feeling it. So then they'll go into like functional medicine or integrative medicine and open up their own clinic where they don't do a lot with insurance companies. But this way they can still order all the fancy tests, but then treat people how they actually want to treat people. It's heartbreaking hearing what doctors have to go through, what loops they have to go through just to give their patient what they want to because of all these insurance regulations. And so anyway, so he was on today talking about pain management and ozone therapy. Ozone therapy is awesome. I had no idea what it can do. So that calls in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here in a second. But I just wanted to give you some background to like where this program came from and what were the motivating factors behind wanting to create a program like this. Last thing I'll say before I open up the screen is just that at Holistic Health Educators, we really believe that you have a voice in your health and in your how your body works wherever you are, whether you're in your home, in your community, in the doctor's office. We believe you're entitled to know as much as you possibly want to know about your body. Like the amazing thing, like I'm saying about modern technology and resources is like, you don't have to go through med school for a decade to learn all about how your body works and to learn how each of these beautiful systems in the body works. I mean, we have charts all over our office talking about how your lymphatic system works and you know, how your respiratory system and your circulatory system are interconnected and why your kidneys matter. Instead of getting closer and closer at the problem, you know, we take a step back in healthcare. So instead of seeing like, oh, I have a kidney problem, let's look in the kidney and see what chemical reaction is not happening. Let's step back and say, okay, what's the kidney a filter for? Okay, it's a filter for the bloodstream. What's going into the bloodstream that shouldn't be going into the bloodstream right now? And then you just kind of keep taking steps back where all of a sudden what you thought was a kidney issue could be related to digestion or hydration or what you're putting on your skin even. It's so interconnected. You can't isolate problems like that. And so that's why the reductionist theory and the reductionist practices that are often used in medical care, which can totally have a time and a place, but a lot of times they don't work for people who are trying to find long-term solutions and like reverse their problems. So, okay, cool. I hope I wasn't going on too much of a tangent, but I'm going to get in and show you inside the program now. So I'm going to start sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to come back over here to check on the chat section every now and then. So please go ahead and put your questions and comments on there. Okay, I just have to open up a new tab first, and then I can share my screen. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go to holistichealtheducators.com. And Holistic Health Educators is a network of people who practice holistic health and teach holistic health from around the world. So it's super cool. And this is our website. You can watch like videos and stuff. But these are just some of like the doctors and practitioners that are in the Human Body Master Guide. So Dr. Essen, he's like an autoimmune specialist, phenomenal. We have holistic dentists in here, cancer survivors that are going through everything they did to get through their cancer naturally. We have people who are talking about diet and nutrition, medical doctors, gemologists, chiropractors. This is an infectious disease specialist down here on the bottom right. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. Craniosacral therapists. So it's just fun. This gentleman here is a genetics doctor, and so he emphasizes in epigenetics, and it's super cool. So I'm going to log in here so that I can, oh, I'm already logged in. Okay, so here's the Human Body Master Guide, and this is the one I'm going to enter. If you get the Human Body Master Guide today, we are also including Karen's Kitchen Transformation, which has about 40 healthy recipes in it. They're all videos, super fun. You'll also get the Weight Loss and Detox for Life audio program. So just know those are things we're including if you get the Human Body Master Guide today. So let's go inside the program. Okay, awesome. So Human Body Master Guide. And just so you know, there's an email address up here. We want to hear from you what your questions, suggestions, and requests are. So like I had another lady put in topic requests today for things related to her thyroid, endometriosis, things like that. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you want to learn about, and we want to hear who you're recommending we interview next. So there's a few different parts of the program. So, you have your little course introduction. You can watch that on your own. So the systems of the body is a very foundational part of the course where we're just going through each system and talking about the complexities about how they work. My jaw was dropping as I was here learning from, this is Dr. Essen and Karen Urbanik speaking. And we will be adding more videos to these systems of the body videos. I think it would be really fun to hear like some of these systems explained from a kid's perspective so that we can teach our kids about this type of thing. And so it just goes through, your urinary system, skeletal system, muscular skeletal system, and meridian system, and lymphatic system. And so endocrine system got 3 videos of its own because it's such a complex system. And who doesn't have an issue that's related to hormones and all of our different pancreatic, the pancreas, that's part of the endocrine system. Anything that secretes hormones and is a part of the, it's a gland, is part of your endocrine system, so it's huge. Awesome. So that's the systems of the body. And then we have these live calls where you can go back and watch all the live calls. We started doing live calls after coronavirus started happening because we stopped meeting in person. And so we switched to webinars and going online, and now we love it. So for example, this is, we have different, this is, I'm trying to remember his name. This is a chiropractor and his wife, though. They have a wonderful clinic up in northern southern Utah. This woman practices emotion code, and she is extremely phenomenal on behavioral release or behavioral analysis, and also emotional release techniques. Sometimes it's just Karen and I, and sometimes we're just doing open question and answer, you know, autoimmune specialists. So you can kind of go back in time, but these are open question and answer sessions. We want to know. People are like, hey, how do I muscle test in DAOs, you know? And, you know, or people will be like, hey, I have plantar fasciitis. What can I do? Or, hey, I have candida. Or they'll say, hey, my son has a rash on his arm. What should I apply to the rash? And we're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. By the time something is on your skin, something has been going wrong inside your body. So what's one of the most common causes of skin rashes and skin funguses is candida overgrowth. So we would talk about candida. And so you can just go ahead. Dr. Jones, I'm sure he talked about and some veterinary work in here too, because he started off as a veterinarian and then became a master herbalist. So anyway, so I hope that makes sense about the live calls. Those are really fun to go in, and you just get to ask your questions. Those are a Zoom call, so we'll hear your voice on there, and you can also, we can see you if you want to put your video on, but otherwise you can just hear other people's questions. So if we go in by each topic, you can come in and see what videos have already been made about it. There's this instant info section where you can see, I'll open up one of these here. Let's go down to one that you guys were asking about. Adrenal fatigue, aging, alkalinity, allergies, Alzheimer's, anemia. I'm sorry if I'm going really fast. Anxiety, the anxiety section is awesome. I love all these videos. I super recommend this lady right here. This is a side tangent, but I love her. I think her name's Debbie, and she, do you guys care if I show you part of this video really quick? Uh-oh. 1 second. I do not know how long ago I lost you guys. I am so sorry. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this and then share it again. Oof, I should have come over soon enough. I was just giving you a whole tour of something you could not see at all, so you all win an award for patience. We're going to try this on round 2. I'm so sorry. Okay, losses from the beginning of the website. That's terrible. Okay, let's do this. Let's start this over. Thanks for telling me where I lost you at. So we're going to come here to... Okay, will you tell me if you can see this screen? I'm going to come back out here to the Human Body Master Guide. Can you guys see this page? Awesome! Okay. Whew, I am so sorry about that. Well, now you just get a fun little recap. So here's like the app. So this is after I logged in, okay? So this is what I see. Actually, let me go back so you guys can see the login page. So here in your courses, when you come to holistichealtheducators.com and then you have your library and you go to log in, if you get the Human Body Master Guide today, the first option comes with the kitchen transformation and the detox program. So that's why I'm just showing you what it looks like in your library. So come over here to view course. Let me just make sure I still have you. Boom, still have you. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. Course introduction, systems of the body. So for example, you have your endocrine system, chakra system, circulatory, digestive, lymphatic, meridian. And most of these videos are between 15 and 30 minutes long. So I'll just give you a little taste. Oh, this one's 12. It's a little laggy. So Dr. Jeff Essen is the one in these videos with Karen.
Absolutely. One of my favorite topics, the lymphatic system. Your lymphatic is your sewer system, period. And I always reference
don't know if you guys can hear that.
Did you want to come visit? No. Without enzymes working in our sewer system, would that be a place to go? No. We need our lymphatic systems.
Cool.
Our lymphatic systems, our bodies are divided into 4 sections, right? Right across your midriff, and right down your.
So here she's just talking about your lymphatic systems, your body's sewer system. So if you didn't have if your sewer system got backed up, would you want to live in that house? You know, and she's saying no, you would not want to live in that house. So you should unclog your lymphatic system. And then they go into different ways to maintain lymphatic health. And she was about to go into how your lymphatic system is divided into 4 sections and talk about different ways you can stimulate lymphatic movement. And so it's super fun like that, just watching short videos and learning more about each system in your body. And then you have these live calls. Is it a funny, oh, it's not streaming properly. Okay, well then I'm just not going to stream a lot more videos if it's giving us some trouble, but I hope you can still like kind of catch the drift of it. So then this is what I was showing you early, or what I was talking about earlier with the live calls. And so you can click on any of these going back in time to learn about what they were talking about on those days. Otherwise, just start fresh if you want and just start joining us on the new live calls and ask your own questions and hear what other people's questions are. It's super, yeah, they're super fun to hear about. And then it's nice when other people ask questions you wouldn't have normally thought about, because then you're learning things outside of what you were planning on learning, and that makes us more well-rounded individuals. So here's like, I'm in the A section right now. So like acid reflux, acne, ADD and ADHD. So the part I was telling you that I love down here in anxiety, there's 200 of these health topics, so you're gonna have to do a lot of scrolling. And also just know we're adding hundreds of videos this summer. So some of these, like antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, we don't have a recorded interview yet, but when we send out a little update to all of our doctors and practitioners with the topic requests that people want to know more information on, then we get people coming back saying like, hey, I can do a video on antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. I'm saying that 5 times. Okay, so I was saying this lady here, depression, anxiety, and stress. She is awesome, and she has this one part where she shows you
connected
these different, the rice. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the rice experiment. Anyway, you guys got to come in here and see what the rice experiment is, because it's crazy and it totally changes the way you think about the words we use and the labels we put on people. Yeah, super awesome video. So let me come back out here to, we had a question on asthma. So let's go ahead and see what videos we have for asthma that are already in here. And if not, I'm sure there are a lot more coming. Okay, so right now we have this instant info section on asthma, and then a chiropractic video for chiropractic care for asthma video. That's awesome. A lot of us don't realize how interconnected our lungs are to our spine. And so he's talking about how like simple pinched nerves in our spine can induce asthmatic responses. And so he helps people, he's had people clear up their asthma just by getting chiropractic care done. So super cool. I know Karen's going to be making a few videos on asthma here in the next month or two, because 2 of my siblings have had asthma, and there's definitely things you can do for it. But if you come here in the instant info section, you can see different whole foods and spices that can help, vitamins and minerals, and tinctures and extracts that you can look into. So this is just what research has shown so far can be beneficial. So this is just a good basing point to look at this and say, okay, which of these do I want to look into more? Which of these could be helpful? Same thing with different herbs. And this type of thing is underneath each section for the vitamins and minerals, the herbs. I don't know if I'm scrolling too fast. Let me check really quick. Okay. Let me keep going. And then these are different, this looks like acupressure points. And so, or just on different meridians of the body, so different places that you can hold, tap, or rub. Oh, I'm sure we will be getting some acupressure and acupuncturists doing videos on asthma, because I know there's a ton you can do for that. So like each of these different things, Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, lymphatic massage, that's supposed to be massage. These are people that we want to reach out to and say like, hey, can you do a video for us on asthma? In fact, if any of you guys want to start working for us full time, we seriously have so much to keep doing. And then home remedies, just things you can do from home that help. and what people have written about that, different gemstones, homeopathy. It's the homeopathy you're going to want is going to be different depending on your situation. That's why there's so many different options here. Different essential oils and aromatherapy. doTERRA's Breathe mixture is awesome. I know a few other essential oil companies make a mixture like it, and that's been so helpful applied topically and also just in the air for several of our friends and family that have had asthmatic attacks. And then different self-affirmations, and then additional resources. Whew, okay, I know that's a lot to get through, and then we have a disclaimer on every page because you are responsible for looking into these things before you apply them. Awesome. So that's kind of what the instant info sections look like. So it's just a really good starting base, you know, where you can go in and say like, hey, what of these things do I want to look into more? You know, what could be affecting it? Did that kind of make sense, Lisa, in terms of asking about different options for asthma? There's just a lot of different resources and a lot of different opinions out there on what could work. So then I want to open up. Do you guys see one on here that you want me to open up? Can you go ahead and put that in the chat section? Like, oh, hey, I'm curious what you guys have under cancer or under fibromyalgia or gallbladder. Did you guys know there's things you can do to prevent getting your gallbladder removed? Like there's gallbladder flushes. Someone in my family did a gallbladder flush and she lost 40 gallbladder stones. 40. So now we have doctors that are getting people's telling people to take their gallbladders out when they have 9 gallstones, and I'm not doubting that there may be a time and a place to take the gallbladder out, but this whole trend of just cutting organs out the second that they don't work is completely blowing my mind. Okay, in the gallbladder section, though, I have to tell you, we have so here's a great gallbladder flush you can do. I do not know what this word is. Oh, inflammation of the gallbladder. Can you say that? Cholecystitis. And then we have, there's an instant info section on gallbladder stones, and then an instant info section on gallbladder, like I guess what the difference between disease and health is, like what can help promote health and prevent disease. I'm uploading a video on the gallbladder before this weekend, just so you know, because Dr. Essen just did a video on the gallbladder, and it's phenomenal. He went exactly through what gallbladder flush he does with his patients and what he's done for himself because he's had to use it before. So here it's just talking about, you know, this is a very powerful cleanse. Looks like this information was taken from a book called The Liver Gallbladder Miracle Cleanse. I do believe this is the one my little sister did. And then, of course, we have to tell you to seek medical advice from your physician. And so it kind of breaks down how bile works and how the ductwork can actually be the problem. And then it's going to go into symptoms and things like that, and then telling you how to prepare for the flush. This is huge, taking 2 to 4 weeks to avoid processed and packaged foods and avoid all food coloring, pesticides, herbicides, things like that. Those things, okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for just a minute if that's okay. So our liver has like 1,000 different functions, and one of its primary functions is to, oh, awesome, thanks, Gail. One of the primary functions is to identify like different chemicals that are coming in through the body. So our liver has this thing called the P53 pathway? It's like some fancy like code P453 pathway. And what it does is it's like looking at like everything coming in that's new to the body. So all these different chemicals, and these can be naturally occurring chemicals in our food. They can be foreign chemicals like a food coloring. And every time it sees those super foreign things, it's like, I have no idea how to decode that and tell, because our liver also works as like a storage unit. And so it stores amino acids, it stores different chemicals that our bodies will need in the future. And so when it sees something that it totally can't identify and it doesn't know what locker to put it in, it will often just take it and wrap it up in adipose tissue and store it as fat in fat cells. And it does that to protect us from toxicity, because it can't just like let those chemicals float around in the bloodstream. That would be very toxic for us. And so this is a huge reason why a lot of times people gain weight on medication, is because you have all these chemicals coming into the body, and a many of them are unidentifiable by the body. Some of them know exactly what they're doing, but other ones are very triggering, and your body just begins, as your liver becomes more burdened down with medications. And then if you're eating processed foods on top of that, like food colorings, pesticides and herbicides in the food, inorganic meat and dairy products. I one time heard a study that like there was 100 times as many pesticides and herbicides in a piece, not herbicides, but those chemicals in inorganic cheese than on a piece of inorganic fruit. Just because if you think about it, you have your animal that's eating whatever processed food they're being fed to get as fat as possible, or to bulk up as possible, or to produce as much milk as possible, and they're eating supplements. They're being fed supplements and being fed whatever kind of diet they are that does have chemicals in it. Those chemicals go into their body, and the same way humans, like if I had a baby that was breastfeeding right now, I would be passing down chemicals from my diet into my breast milk. It's called biomagnification. And so my baby would be getting a higher dosage of those chemicals because it's getting passed into her through my breast milk. And so animals also pass that stuff down into their milk. So then you have this milk that's higher, that has a higher concentration of these chemicals than sometimes their food. And then you take that and condense it into cheese. And then you have like an ultra dense, concentrated version of inorganic material. And so nothing's technically inorganic that has carbon in it. But from a non-chemistry standpoint, inorganic in the sense that these animals haven't been, and their food hasn't been treated without the long list of things that you need to withhold to be certified organic. And so anyway, I'm just saying, if we're eating a diet that's high in these processed meats and cheeses, which are like ultra concentrated versions of chemicals from animal diets, and then we're putting those chemicals in our body, we're putting all these fancy smelly lotions on our body, and then you live in Utah where there's air pollution, and then you're breathing that in. There are so many foreign chemicals entering the body at one point. It truly bogs down the liver. It truly bogs down the liver. It can lead to emotional issues, because our emotions are also processed by our liver. Emotions are one of two things. They're either a peptide, like a chemical, or they're a frequency, and neurotransmitters as well. So I'm saying they're like either a literal things floating in your body, or they're a frequency. And if you have these literal things floating in your bloodstream, those also need to get processed by the liver. And so that's why there's this whole thing on red meat being, angry meat. If you ever heard about associations between emotional disorders and diets really high in meat, because these things can bog down our liver and prevent us from being able to process all the other things that our livers are meant to process. So that's a really roundabout way of saying that your liver and your gallbladder are very connected, and bogging down your liver with processed foods is not going to help your gallbladder be any healthier. I hope that made sense. I'm sorry, I guess that's what you would call a tangent. But anyway, so super cool. And then another little quick plug on gallbladders that I learned about is that the ductwork is sometimes the problem. People will say it's your gallbladder. It's not your gallbladder. It's the ductwork in your gallbladder. In fact, let me grab this. Okay, I hope you guys can see this. So here we have your gallbladder. That's not too blurry, is it? So here's your gallbladder, and then we have this duct that comes down here. And that duct leads into the first 10 inches of your small intestine, called the duodenum. And so the purpose of the gallbladder, it's breaking down fats. And then you have other enzymes that are also being released into that area of the small intestine that's meant to neutralize the stomach acid, because your stomach is supposed to be very acidic. In fact, if your stomach is not acidic enough, that's a huge cause of acid reflux. It's called hyperthyroid. We're going to look it up. Anyway, but this ductwork getting clogged is half the problem most of the time. And so that's another reason why the cleanse is awesome, because it helps cleanse out the ductwork, not just the gallbladder itself. Did you know that most parasites live in ductwork as well? I didn't know that. Like your pancreas has ductwork, and a lot of parasites love hanging out in there. And just anywhere there is ductwork, I just learned that that's where parasites spend a lot of time. So it's great for us to do parasite cleanses. The idea that Americans can't have parasites is a total myth. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of that. But yeah, parasites are one of our cancer patients. Her doctor was huge on believing that every type of cancer was related to a specific parasite. So she did a lot of green coffee enemas, because parasites hate green coffee. That's a raw coffee. It hasn't been roasted. And she will boil it, let it cool down, and then do an enema with it. And there's a video in the Human Body Master Guide on how to do a green coffee enema. And she literally started detoxing parasites. She said it was disgusting. She wanted to throw up. There's, you know, really small microorganisms, but she could still identify them. And yeah, that's just what her doctor recommended, because he said the type of cancer she had could very well be related to parasites. So it's just good to know what your options are. So yeah, thanks for asking about the gallbladder. I'm sure there's going to be more videos in there soon, but that is some of what the written content is on that section. And Gail also, and this goes for any of you, if you are ever in the program and you're like, wow, I love what I've learned so far, I wish I knew a little bit more, hop on a live call or send in a topic request. That's how we know. That's why we do live calls. That's why we are going to be continuously adding this program forever. So I hope that was pretty cool. Corn on the bottom of the foot. That would be a question I would ask during a live call. I'm not sure if we have a section. Does that have a more medical name for it? Because I'm not really sure where I would find that in the guidebook. But yes, let me make sure I got through most of these questions. But yeah, another section I was going to show you in the guidebook here. Do you guys want me to put screen share back on? Let me see if there's more things that we can explore around in here. But I guess before I lose any of you, I'll just throw out what we are offering right now. So when the coronavirus started, and well, the start date is highly controversial, but when all the lockdowns started and the in-home, stay-at-home orders, and people stopped going to the hospital as much, and people wanted to know how they could boost their immune system and how they could be healthy and keep their families safe. When that all started, we decided to put the Human Body Master Guide on a huge sale. And we had such a big response from it the first couple of days we did that, from doing webinars, that we decided that we just kept extending the sale. And so it's been extended all the way up until now. I do believe the coupon code is ending. And so today is going to be the official last day. There's a few people who missed a couple webinars, so yeah, it might not expire right at midnight because those people are still catching up, and I'm not sure what time zone they're in. But the point is that the coronavirus-related sale on the guidebook is ending, and if you want to get lifetime access for cheaper than it's ever been and probably ever will be, I would totally hop in the program now, because this program came out the door at a little over $1,000. I thought it was worth like $10,000 when it first came out, but I know we were not going to charge that. That's not what modern technology is about. You know, modern technology is about making things really affordable. But we dropped the price during COVID to $395, and so people who get in at $395, you get lifetime access to the course. So even if we switch to a subscription basis in the future, you still get access to it. And then you can also, there's also a payment plan option. I should pull this up. There's also a payment plan option. Let me start sharing my screen really quick. Great. So this is just a page in the website that's talking about the course. This page isn't in the Human Body Master Guide. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this commercial, but it's pretty funny. So here, if you come to the checkout page, there's two options here. There's one for $395, and that includes access to Karen's kitchen transformation and the weight loss one. You can also break it up into 4 payments of $99 if that's easier. It doesn't include the kitchen transformation, but you can always get that. You can always add that program to your guide whenever you want to in the future. I think it's like $100 or something. So those are your two options there, between if you want to just pay in one lump sum and get lifetime access or break it up. But I will tell you what people have said about the program being inside. This is one of my favorite quotes here from Jessica. She said her favorite part was learning about the systems of the body, because you can know everything there is to know about a condition, but until you understand the symptoms, you won't see on the systems, you won't see how it's all connected. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever been looking at something with kind of tunnel vision, and then all of a sudden you learn something else about your body and you're like, it could totally be related to that instead. Here's an example. We had a young man come into our center who was told he had terrible lung capacity and just bad lungs his whole life, asthmatic related symptoms, was told like his lungs were the problem, his lungs were the problem. They wanted to start him on chemotherapy treatment for his lungs just to rule that out. And before he started chemo with his doctor, his mom was like, I'm going to go ask Karen first. So she brought him in. My mom did a biofeedback scan, and you can learn about biofeedback testing if you don't already know about it. But it uses frequency technology to kind of run assessments on the body. And she's like, wow, this is weird. Your lungs look totally fine. She's like, but your heart, on the other hand, looks really weak. She's like, have you ever done a heart strengthening protocol? And mom's like, no, like they've only ever told us it was only his lungs, because that's where his symptoms were in his breathing. She's like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter how much he breathes if his heart isn't strong enough to pump it throughout the body, you know? So they created a heart protocol to strengthen his heart. Now, previous to him coming in, I think he was about 14, he was like on the couch all day long, could not go outside, could not run with the kids, could be nowhere near the barn or animals, was like basically bedridden, wanted to die, okay, because he felt so miserable. After 2 weeks on a heart strengthening protocol, he was running around, and he was outside, and he was in the barn after 2 weeks of a heart protocol. And his mom was like, what the heck? We thought it was his lungs all along, but he actually needed a stronger heart. Who knew? And so just things like that can happen a lot, where we think it's like one thing, and then taking a step back and learning about how interrelated our systems are, we're like, hey, actually, I should try this, or I should look at it from this type of a holistic standpoint. Let me try to think of another example, because I just love it. I love it when stuff like this happens, when someone comes in thinking it's one thing, and then they find out it's something else. Oh my word. Behavioral problems in children. We have a dentist in the program, Dr. Bennett. He is awesome. For sure, in the Human Body Master Guide, look up the section on ADD and ADHD in children and on bedwetting, because let me show you really quick what this doctor looks like so you know who to look for. But I thought that these behavioral issues, I was like, I'd heard it had been related to diet. I heard it had been related to allergic reactions or different hormonal problems. But this doctor is talking about how children are chronically exhausted because they're not sleeping right. So he talks about how because we don't chew foods as thoroughly as our ancestors did. Like, think about it. Back in the day, people were like gnawing on carrots. They were chewing like tiger roots and just different nuts and seeds and chewy things. And now we like feed our children melt in your mouth little yogurt drops, and we live off of bread and noodles and pasta and just a lot of really soft foods. And think about baby food. It's like applesauce. And we don't stop after they're babies. After they have their teeth, we're still feeding them crushed up foods and applesauce and just everything's a sauce. And so he's talking about how that understimulation of the jaw leads kids to, I just want to show you what it looks like. Dr. Bennett, okay? This guy is a hero. So he says that understimulation of the jaw makes it so that jaws aren't developed enough and far enough forward. They're kind of sunk back in people's mouths, and there's not enough space for the tongue to sit while people are sleeping. So then you go back to sleep, and you're going to be sitting up, and that tongue keeps falling up to the back of your mouth, and or snoring. But you've seen it in kids, right? Like, they'll be like, and they never enter REM sleep because they're suffocating, because there's not enough space in their mouth for their tongue. Who knew? So he's a dentist, and so he installs this dental appliance that helps regrow your jaw, and it pulls your jaw forward. And they do this in adults too. So if you know anyone that's dealing with sleep apnea or any type of sleeping disorder, the success stories are insane. People will come and get the unit done, and it just helps pull the jaw forward. It can help alleviate TMJ pressure, and the tinnitus, however you want to say it. And so it's just crazy, because I would have never thought that a kid's behavioral disorder could be related to how well they're sleeping. But that totally makes sense, right? He says up to 50% of all the kids running around with behavioral issues are actually just exhausted. They're just not getting enough sleep. Can I hear like an amen in like the chat session or something? Like, tell me if I'm the only one whose mind was blown when I learned this. So I was like, wow, that totally makes sense. If kids are exhausted, like, they're not going to be behaving well. Think about how well you and I behave when we are chronically exhausted. And so he's just teaching you, like, hey, parents, thank you for the amens. I feel the support. He's saying, like, hey, parents, don't be scared to feed your children chewy foods so they can develop that jawline. But also, if you're to the point where their jaws are not developed, catch it young. Those appliances are so much less complicated if they're young. They're like little mouth guards that you can put in their mouth to help pull it forward. If you're an adult, they like have to make a more customized appliance. But anyway, just super cool to know like what your options are, because maybe you're a mom that's tried all these different diets. I mean, the diets related to improving children's behavioral issues are insane. So I'd be surprised if you didn't see significant improvement in your kid after any one of those diets. But if that's not working, maybe this is something really cool to look at. So, okay, so those are just some of the cool things you can learn about. I really recommend spending time in the program looking up topics that you aren't normally interested in. And I know that sounds funny because you're like, like I just want to look at what's related to my body and what's related to my family. But tell me if there have been a few times that I've been talking today where like you heard something and you're like, oh, I wouldn't have put that together. Or like, oh, I wouldn't have thought those things are related. And the more we can expand our understanding of how interrelated our bodies are, the more empowered we are going to feel in our homes, in the doctor's office, in our communities, and the better relationship we're going to have with our bodies. We have this huge philosophy here at Holistic Health Educators that what we know influences what we believe, and what we believe influences how we act. So if someone is acting really differently than you, or if I'm looking to change my behavior, it can be related to what I know and what I believe and what my worldview is, how I see the world. Well, instead of us trying to make some of these health decisions, like weight loss, for example, instead of us being like, I got to stick to this diet plan, I have got to just do this healthy thing because I know I should, and I'm just going to use my willpower. Not to knock on any of us humans, but they've actually found willpower is pretty weak. Not because we're not driven, but because our environment, like so many things can influence willpower, and it just exhausts us. Like it can be good for like a little stretch of time, but like long term, relying only on willpower, they found is not very reliable long-term solution. What they have found out is changing our knowledge base, like changing our worldview can just influence our behavior so fast. For an example, and I'm sorry if I go on too many tangents, but we each have between 1 and 1.5 gallons of blood in our body. I used to think we had a lot more blood than that, but it's between 1 and 1.2 gallons of, 1 and 1.5 gallons of blood. I'm probably right around 1.2 gallons. Guess how much sugar we need in our bloodstream to have a healthy blood sugar level? In our whole body to have a healthy blood sugar level. Say it out loud wherever you are. Half a cup, 2 tablespoons, 1 teaspoon. Okay, you need 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of sugar circulating in your bloodstream to have a healthy blood sugar level. Okay, so before I knew that, I had the perception I needed sugar to have energy, because that's just what we're told. Like, oh my gosh, you're low in energy, go eat a Snickers bar. Or like, oh, like I'm low in energy, like I'm gonna drink this soda really quick because it's gonna give me a boost of energy. When I learned I only needed 1 teaspoon of sugar, which made sense to me because our ancestors were not eating sugar. They were chewing on like root vegetables and different nuts and seeds and very complex carbohydrates that release sugar into the bloodstream very gradually. So when I learned that, my desire to consume milkshakes and to consume sugary things just plummeted. And then it was not a case of willpower. It wasn't like, I know I shouldn't eat sugar, It was like, I don't want to put that much sugar in my bloodstream at once. Like, you think I'm crazy? Like, you think I'm going to do that to my bloodstream right now with everything else it has to deal with, So then it all of a sudden just changed my perspective, and I started like really appreciating my body and wanting to do these things out of a place of love instead of out of a place of forcing it, So that's what I think is so cool is like, we call the Human Body Master Guide. It started off as the Human Body Master Guide because we want it to be the master guidebook. Like what you guys are seeing now, I really think is less than 10% of what this program is going to be over the next 5 to 10 years. Like I'm going to Germany this summer to visit a friend. You want to know who I'm calling before I go there? So seeing if I can get appointments with any of the alternative cancer clinics, because there's tons of alternative cancer clinics in Germany. I want appointments with anyone who's practicing holistic healthcare in Germany to see what they're doing differently, and just collect. I'm going to graduate school in China for a year, and so I'm so excited to be able to interview people who practice functional Chinese medicine while I'm over there. And meanwhile, we have people in America that are going to be doing interviews as well. So like it originally started off as a master guidebook. Do you guys tell how like giddy I get? I just am so excited that this type of resource is even possible given modern technology. And so It started off as a master guide, but after we started filming videos, you want to know what we started saying at the end of each video? We said, and why does this matter? Because you are the master of your body. And so then it turned into like, hey, like I actually didn't always love that saying because I like to think of it as like a sacred relationship we have in our body, but it's still that empowering concept that like, you know what, like I have this beautiful body and sometimes it works the way I want it to and sometimes it doesn't. But what can I learn to improve my relationship with my body? What can I learn about my body? You know, our relationship with our body is like any other relationship in our life. We can have false connotations associated with it and assumption making. We can have a loving and patient approach. We can feel like someone's totally gypping us, or we can feel like, wow, like I can't believe you just hiked me up a mountain, you know? I've cried on my way down from a mountain before. This sounds so hippie, but I'm like, I totally fit the bill after stuff like this. I've like just knelt down on the earth and just like been like, thank you, body. Like you just took me up and down a mountain. You are amazing, you know? That's like the point where we want to get to with our bodies, where like we understand how our body works. We want to give it what it needs to serve well. And we want to do this all from a place of love instead of a place of force and fear and discontent. So anyway, that's our ultimate goal for you in terms of how you can use this guidebook, is to not only learn what you can do for your family and at home, but also so that you can have a dream relationship with your body, no matter what shape, size, or color it is. Oh man, my phone died. I was going to read something really cool. But yeah, loving your body doesn't have to start when it's functioning perfectly. It should start now. It should start now because those neural pathways, those perceptions we have towards our bodies, they're not going to suddenly change when our body's doing what we want it to. You know, a lot of times our bodies follow our thoughts, actually. So changing some of those mental dialogue we're having with our body, I would argue that almost comes before whatever health behavior change you're looking for or whatever health outcome you're looking for. You have to send those positive beliefs to your body. Anyway, we had a last thing here real quick. We had a woman message me this morning and she said, hey, like, thank you so much for the Human Body Master Guide. My husband had a root canal and it had been causing an infection and we just weren't putting everything together. And they're like, we were on the guide. We learned that we're not a big fan of root canals around here, in case you're wondering, but they're like, we learned, you know, root canals are associated with a lot of infections in the body, even cancer. They have thermal imaging scans of women's root canals leading directly down to a tumor in the breast, directly down. Anyway, and so they're like, we had it removed and, you know, we're able to do everything without antibiotics, which had destroyed his gut microbiome in the past. And they're like, he's feeling amazing. And we're just like so thankful we knew what to do, or else we would have just kept paying for expensive different treatments and getting more and more antibiotics, which are messing up his gut, which is messing up his digestion, which could be messing up his mental health because our neurotransmitters are produced in our digestive tract. Fun fact, it's not produced in your brain. Anyway, and so up to 90%, I'm not going to say they're all produced in your digestive tract, but up to 90% of serotonin is actually manufactured in your intestinal tract. So it's important to keep it healthy. Anyway, so it's fun getting messages like that of people learning what their options are and what they can do. So please go ahead and message me if you have any other questions. And I'm sorry if I was kind of all over the place, but I love going on rants because there's so many fun things to learn about the body. And that's what every live call is like. You know, I already told you about Dr. Andrew on today. We had a cancer survivor on yesterday, Jamie Foote, phenomenal activist. And she has tried like every natural cancer therapy in the book and has done screw-ness research. And so she was there talking about which natural therapies she's found have been most effective and which ones she found have not been effective. And that's an important conversation to have because a huge pitfall we can make is grouping all of natural medicine into one group. That's actually what my senior thesis was on when for graduating in epidemiology. My senior thesis was on the systematic error of grouping all forms of alternative medicine into one cohort when you're evaluating alternative medicine cancer treatments, because there are alternative medicine cancer treatments that are actually not that effective. And there's also alternative medicine cancer treatments that are amazing. And they can't just be grouped together because then you have physicians that are like, alternative medicine doesn't work. And then they're not giving their patients any kind of indication of where they should turn to for reliable alternative medicine therapies, you know, because according to the data, you know, they're like, oh, it doesn't work, you know, but who's in that cohort. You could have people who are just like, they're doing yoga a couple times a week and maybe eating a couple extra vegetables and throwing some essential oils on their breasts. And you're comparing them against someone who's doing a scrutinous, regulated, holistic healthcare treatment plan, including, vitamin C therapy, or vitamin C IV therapy, ozone therapy, B17. I mean, whatever options they choose from, electromagnetic therapies, dieting. There's a lot. The program goes over like 20 different alternative medicine cancer therapies that people have used. And so you just can't compare those people together. So it's important to know. It's important to know where to turn to. And I'm sorry that all that research isn't out there yet on clinical evaluations of alternative cancer treatments. Not that anyone's asking about that, but I love this topic. And that's one thing I hope to study more when I get to Johns Hopkins is start changing the way we're doing research on alternative medicine cancer therapies. So, oh man, that's been a fun hour. Can you believe you probably can't believe it's been an hour, but thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Go ahead and let me know if there's anything else you want me to go over in the program. Before you join the program, you will join something called a private membership association. And I probably actually should have had each of you fill out a disclaimer or like a little form before you came on today, because I'm just like shooting health advice out of the air right now. We want you to become a member of this association, and you will be if you join the Human Body Master Guide community today, or actually whenever you join it, but the sale is ending, so I hope you do choose to join us today, because the prices are going up when the sale ends, at least by a couple $100. So I do hope you join us today. You'll be joining this association, which allows us to freely share health information with you, because every member in the association agrees that we're not going to sue other people for sharing health information. Sorry, 1 second. We're not going to share, we're not going to sue other people. There was a question. Oh, awesome. So, Gail, we recently rebranded as Holistic Health Educators, and we started a new private membership association. So I love that you were probably in Karen's Energy Association. You can join again. It's not going to cost you anything because we just include that into the program. And you just join that. It's on the checkout page if you join the program. But great question, because when we closed Karen's Energy, we actually had one of the largest private membership associations in the whole world. So that was awesome. We just from teaching at all these different classes and conferences and expos, we had one of the largest PMAs in the whole world. It was super cool. PMA is actually like an alternative organization to an LLC or a corporation or an educational institution or a medical organization. It's a private membership association. And so that's what our business model is, and that way we're all protected, and all the doctors and practitioners we get in the program are protected. You are responsible for doing your research, and it's not a patient physician relationship in the program. We're all community members that are learning from each other, and we do love hearing what you've done too. If your grandma has some really cool thing for burns, like someone just mentioned, putting mustard on burns can really help, and we tried it because my mom recently burned herself and she put mustard on it and the pain went away like right away. We're like, who knew? I did not know mustard could do that. So it's kind of fun hearing from other people just those little things that have been passed down in their families that still work, and it's good to preserve that and understand what we can do about it. So okay, so when I exit this, you're going to be redirected to the checkout page for the Human Body Master Guide. Like I said, if you join, the live calls start again next week. And so you can text me your health questions, and I can make sure those get answered in the live call, or just hop on the live call and ask your questions on that. And if it conflicts with your work schedule, we do alter the times of the live call to try to make sure everyone has a chance to get on, at least at some point. And then you can also send your topic requests in via email, and we can shoot videos and upload those into the program as well. And so, I really hope you guys can join us. And it's been a pleasure spending time with you this past hour. Will you let me know if you have any other questions about the program or about pricing or about what your membership includes? I'll hang out here for just another minute and make sure I'm answering everyone's questions. Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. Great to see your name on here. I really hope I can see and meet some of you guys in person. We do an in-person conference every year. So the next one coming up is actually next March, March 19th, 20th, and 21st in Southern Utah at the Dixie Convention Center. So put it on your calendar and come be here in person, because we have all these specialists in the Human Body Master Guide. They love speaking in person. And so we're like, hey, come speak at our conference, you know, and they love it. So, but it's going to be a great conference. We're going to make it super cheap because we're not going to do all the catering that you usually get at these conferences. And I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, we would not feed this to half the people there. I mean, we wouldn't eat half the food on the menu. So it's going to be cheaper because you're going to have to, like, you know, eat out or bring your own lunch and stuff like that. But it's going to be an awesome conference. So I really hope you're when you join the community, like, you're in the community, like, not just for the Human Body Master Guide, but we hope you come to our conferences. We hope you join us on future webinars. Send us pictures of your children, everything. So, okay. Well, if no one else has any questions, I'm going to wrap this up. And if you guys want to really quickly write down my email, my phone number. I just sent that out there. That's my personal cell. So if you have any trouble tonight with something in the sign up, or if you want any more information, please go ahead and reach out to me. And I would love to get in contact with you. So I'll just give you a minute to make sure you guys get that number down. But otherwise, it's been great spending time with you today. And I hope to see you on the live calls next week. So you are the master of your body, everyone, or at least in a beautiful partnership with your body. And I believe in you. All these professionals believe in you. They can't wait to share with you what you can learn about your body. And I'm just so grateful and honored that we could spend this hour together. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a great night. Thanks, Gail. We'll see you later.